Good evening and welcome to the December 4, 2023 regular meeting of the Mayor and City Council. First item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like to invite two students from our community, Summer Varkey and Lily Varkey. Summer's from Quince Orchard High School and Lily's from Rachel Carson Elementary, and they're going to lead us in the pledge. If everyone can please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ladies, very much. Next on our agenda is reflection, and I'd like to call for a moment of silence, please. Thank you all very much. Once a year, we have reconsideration of who the vice president of our city council is going to be, and at this point in our agenda, it is that time of year, and I'm going to turn it over to our current council vice president, Lisa Henderson, to make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to make a motion to nominate Jim McNulty as the vice president for the year 2024.
Second.
Okay.
Second.
All right, several seconds.
In case you didn't hear me the first time.
Okay.
It's actually 6. Right?
He really feels strongly about this. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, no nays. Lucky for you. Let's give Jim a round of applause. And Jim will speak about this, I anticipate, in front of the mayor and council. And I also want to thank Lisa Henderson for doing such a fine, graceful job in the role for the past year. I leaned on her quite a bit, and I'm sure I'm going to be leaning on Jim quite a bit. So there you have it. All right. So next on our agenda is approval of minutes, and tonight we have 4 sets of minutes before us. The first is from the joint work session on Monday, October 9th. What is the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of the minutes from the joint work session held on October 9th, 2023.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And do we have an abstention?
One abstention.
Okay, so that carries 4-0 with one abstention, Councilmember Hernandez. So next we have the minutes from Monday, October 16. What is the pleasure of the council?
I mean, I'd move approval, but I can't for the
I'll
first
do it,
5
Mr. Mayor.
minutes.
I
Yes,
move,
you can. You were there. Just move approval.
Move approval.
and I'll second it.
Okay, enough of this drama. All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. And do we have
Yes.
one abstention? Okay. So that carries 4-0 with one abstention, Councilmember Hernandez. Next, we have the minutes from the work session on Monday, October 23rd. What is the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the minutes from October 23rd session.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. And
Yes.
abstention. Okay. So that carries 4-0 with one abstention, Councilmember Hernandez. And next, we have, it's our last set, the minutes from November 20th, our special session. What is the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor, I'll move approval of the minutes of the special session dated November 20th.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. And you can vote on this.
I voted.
Okay. Okay, good. That carries 5-0. Okay, next on our agenda is appointments. And tonight we have several appointments and reappointments. What is the pleasure of the council?
Madam Vice President, or Mr. Vice President?
I thought Neil was going to do it because he does it so
I think
well.
Jamil should do it.
All right. Mr. Mayor, I move approval of the resolution of the City Council confirming the appointments and reappointments for the Commission on Landlord-Tenant Affairs, Cultural Arts Advisory Committee, Gaithersburg Parks, Arts and Recreation Corporation, and the Police Advisory Committee. For the Commission on Landlord-Tenant Affairs, a 3-year term for Tyrone Barton, term to expire of December of 2026. For the Cultural Arts Advisory Committee, for a 2-year term for Hirai Joshi, expiring December 2025. Reappointments for Gaithersburg Parks, Arts and Recreation Corporation for a 3-year term expiring December of 2026 to Denise Kaiser, I remember her. Okay, glad that she's still with us. Police Advisory Committee, 2-year term, expiring December 2025 for Joshua Fisher.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay.
Some-
So I know Josh is here. Anybody else who, if your name was just read and you were just appointed, just raise your hand. Okay. First, Josh, just stand up and just introduce yourself in the committee.
Good evening, Josh Fisher. I reside in Old Town, member of the Police Advisory Committee. Thanks for reappointing me.
Thank you.
Thank
Please
you.
come on up, just for a sec. Yeah, just come to the mic so all the dozens viewing at home can.
I'm Tyrone Barton, new appointee to the Landlord-Tenant.
Excellent, excellent. And there was nobody else here. Okay, let's give them a round of applause. Thank you both for serving. As I always say, serving on one of our city committees is a terrific way to get involved in the city and provide meaningful feedback, recommendations to the mayor and council. It really helps the city business, and you get to know how the city works a little bit better, and you get to meet people who also care about the city. It's all good stuff. So I recommend it. Next, we have presentations, and first I'm going to invite Maura Dinwiddie to meet me at the podium, and we're going to do the presentation of the Kentlands Lakelands 5K race proceeds to the Dolores Swoyer Scholarship Fund, and then we're going to do employee recognition after that.
Wasn't sure I fit through there. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Maura Dinwiddie. I'm the Division Chief for Sports and Youth Services for the City of Gaithersburg. And tonight I'm going to share a little bit with you about the Kentlands Lakelands 5K. The sold-out 2023 Kentlands Lakelands 5K was held on Saturday, September 2nd, with more than 1,200 participants. This event is hosted by the Kentlands Community Foundation in partnership with the City of Gaithersburg. It raises funds, promotes volunteerism, and showcases the benefits of new urbanism and walkable communities. In addition to the 5K finishers, over 175 children completed the very popular kids runs. Nick Cruzier of Gaithersburg was this year's top male finisher at 15 minutes 28 seconds. That is 4 minutes and 59 seconds per mile. The top female finisher was Marta McConan of Silver Spring at 19 minutes, coming just behind at 6 minutes 7 seconds per mile. This event benefits local charities, including the Dwelling Place, Mercy Health Clinic, and the Maryland Senior Olympics, Kentlands Community Foundation, and the city's Dolores C. Swoyer Scholarship Fund. This year's check to the city is for $12,300, and these funds will support scholarships for summer camps and Arts Barn programs. Including this year's donation, the foundation has donated over $200,500 in the past 19 years. And at this time, I'd like to welcome others to the podium. We have Carolyn Muller, our Director of Parks, Recreation, and Culture, Ron Thielen, Vice Chair of the Kentlands Community Foundation, Steve Rambo, Treasurer of Kentlands Community Foundation, Diane Koval, the Executive Director of Kentlands Community Foundation, Paul Finver, the Associate Director of Kentlands Community Foundation, Danny Talmadge, Race Director, and last but certainly not least, Lily Varkey, who was our T-shirt design winner. You got it? I mean, get it on the side here. We don't need to the shirt.
Sorry, one more. I'm pushing the wrong buttons. Thank you.
Can we give them a big round of applause?
I would like to say a few words.
Sure.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Ron Thielen, and I am the Assistant Chair, Vice Chair of the Kentlands Community Foundation. I'm here filling in tonight for our Chairperson, Meredith Vogel. Meredith wanted to be here this evening, but unfortunately an out-of-town commitment prevented her from coming, so I'm taking her place. Going to be really short. This year marks the 30th consecutive running of the Kentlands Lakelands 5K and a continuation of the partnership between the City of Gaithersburg and the Kentlands Community Foundation. The foundation really wants to thank the mayor, the council, and everyone at the city for the invaluable support that they provide not only to the race, but also to many of our other programs as well. As was mentioned before, we are going to be donating a portion of this year's race proceeds to the Dolores Swoyer Scholarship Foundation, and an additional amount of money is going to go to the Arts Barn Arts Scholarship Foundation. The total support that we've given is $12,300. We at the foundation are delighted to be able to provide this level of support back to the city. We're privileged to live in the community of Gaithersburg and to be able to call it home, and we're delighted to be part of an event that allows us not only to showcase our community, but also to support our local businesses. So, thank you very much for your time and attention. I appreciate it. I wish everyone a happy holiday season, and we're looking forward to working with everyone again in the new year. Have a great night.
Can I just say, as Tanisha's coming up here to do employee recognitions, that the Dolores Swoyer Scholarship Fund goes directly to help kids get into our rec programs whose families cannot afford to get into our rec programs. Our programs are not priced terribly expensive, but at the same time, there is need in this community, and it's a beautiful thing that this money is going to. So we really, really appreciate it. Tanisha, come on.
Thank you, Mayor Ashman. One of the most exciting things I get to do is recognize at least one person and a team every quarter of our many exceptional employees. And so this evening, I'm here to present our third quarter employee recognition awards. I will start by saying congratulations to Steve Atkins and the police administrative team, the winners of the 2023 Employee Recognition Award for the third quarter, which for us runs July 1 through September 30. The winners were nominated by their peers, and nominations were based on criteria embodying the city's 5 values under the strategic plan: accountability, caring, excellence, integrity, and teamwork, or ACET. Final selections were made by the Employee Recognition Committee, a very hardworking volunteer committee comprised of employees from each city department.
Can I just jump in for a second?
Yeah.
You've got to hear this first story. So if anybody's watching this, don't go get your coffee. Listen to this first story. This is amazing.
Taylor Swift, Kanye West.
Except I'm hyping you. I'm not hyping you.
You're right. You're right, Mayor. My apologies. Okay, so we're going to start with the well-anticipated story about Steve Atkins, who's a supervisor with the Department of Public Works. Steve was nominated for going above and beyond to assist an injured resident. The nomination was based on a telephone call from the grateful resident praising Steve for his help. The 78-year-old resident was walking her daughter's dog when she tripped on a stone stairway and fell face first onto the stone. She was bleeding profusely. Still on the ground, she looked around and saw 2 cars slow down, but then continued on, and she saw a city truck quickly pull over. Steve put on his emergency flashers and ran over. He offered to call an ambulance or to take her to the emergency room himself. However, she wanted to go back to her daughter's house and have her daughter take her to the hospital. He then drove her and the dog back to her daughter's house and would not leave until her daughter arrived. As they waited, he cleaned the blood off of her cell phone and other areas of the house, After returning from the hospital with 10 stitches and a fractured nose, she asked her daughter to clean off the stairs where she had fallen as there was a lot of blood, but her daughter found Steve had already cleaned the stairs. Both mother and daughter could not be more appreciative of the assistance Steve provided. They reported that Steve even made sure the door of the house was locked as he helped the woman to her daughter's car for the trip to the emergency room. His work shows a sense of pride in what he does and his care and concern for the people that we all serve. Congratulations to Steve. So Steve couldn't be here tonight because he may be still wearing a cape out saving others in the city. On his behalf this evening, we have Mark Scafidi to accept the award.
Do we have the, where is the award?
It's
in here.
Is it in here?
I see Leah's system now. Okay, so, yes, this is what it looks like. We're saying it before Steve is saying it, just so you know. But yeah, you get to take it back to Steve.
Okay,
All right.
thank you very much.
Please.
Thank you.
Oh, I think you gotta get
Oh,
a
we're
picture.
doing
Oh,
it.
okay. Get a picture of Steve?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, who wouldn't want to be Steve
That's
today?
right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great story. Thank you.
Please express our gratitude.
We sure will, thank you.
Absolutely amazing. And no less amazing, the police administrative team, which are here with us tonight. That team consists of administrative assistants Aretha Steele and Lizette Okus. And they've been with the department a little more than a year. They were nominated for bringing a new level of professionalism, accountability, caring, and excellence to their work. They were recognized for streamlining processes that have been cumbersome in the past and creating more concise forms which are used by sworn and non-sworn employees. When possible, they also assist citizens who are outside of the city. They like to ensure that everyone feels good about coming to Gaithersburg Police Department for assistance by providing them with as much information as possible to resolve the issues at hand. Most recently, they were recognized for their dedication and commitment following a fire at the police station. Heavy smoke permeated the station, especially in the administrative areas. Despite these challenges, Aretha and Lizette worked through the disruptions caused by the fire and the subsequent cleaning and repair work and continued to provide the excellent service for which they have come to be known. Aretha and Lizette have a true understanding of teamwork, and they go to great lengths to ensure that both internal and external customers are valued and given the best assistance they can provide. Congratulations to Aretha and Lizette. Come on up. Just for Aretha.
Okay. Congratulations.
For Lizette? Yes.
All right, open them up.
Yeah. Let's take them. Thank you. Congratulations.
Yeah. Now I know. Okay. Next item on our agenda is public comments. This is the time the mayor and council would like to hear from anybody in the public who'd like to speak on any topic that's not a public hearing, and tonight we do not have any public hearings, so that opens it up. We ask that you keep your comments no more than 3 minutes, state your name and address, or neighborhood if you prefer for the record. Do we have anybody in the audience who'd like to speak under public comments tonight? Come on up. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Emily Towie, and I'm a longtime resident of the city of Gaithersburg. I live over in the Parklands. I'm a big proponent of renters' rights, and I'm strongly in favor of rent stabilization legislation in the city to help protect our struggling renters. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anybody else who'd like to speak tonight? Okay, let me just check on our Zoom channel here. If you're on Zoom and would like to speak under public comments, just use the raise hand function and I will call on you. Going once, going twice. Okay, I'm not seeing hands go up, so thank you all. And oh, we have one. Tech team, if you could bring up Shanika Whitehurst, that would be great. And Shanika, once you are unmuted, just state your name and address or neighborhood and go right ahead.
Unmute.
There you go.
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I just have a concern.
Wait, Shanika.
So there
Shanika.
is
Shanika.
Oh, hello?
The first thing you got to do, state your name
Oh,
and address
okay.
or neighborhood.
This is Jennifer Jackson.
Oh,
I
it's
live at
Jennifer, okay.
419 Gaither Street.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So there is an intersection that is very dangerous, right there on the corner of what is that? Washington Grove Metro Station. So when you're turning into Washington Grove Metro Station, right next to those new buildings. So you have to make a left onto there, but then when you are coming up, from, hold on one second, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to get the exact streets here. Central Avenue, okay. When there are cars that are coming up Central Avenue, and then there's sort of a blind turn there. So when you're trying to make a left, you have to sort of like time it, whereas folks are making a blind, I guess, not so much a left turn as it is, they're just kind of driving, but there's sort of a, what do you call it? Like almost like a blind curve, thanks, Denise. Okay, so there's a blind curve, and so when you're trying to make a left, there's a blind curve there, and there's so many almost accidents that are happening there at that intersection. We would love to see if we could maybe put a mirror there so that we could see if there are any incoming traffic coming in from that blind curve. It's just, there's been many near misses on that particular intersection, and I'm not sure if we need a stop sign, but at least in the meantime to please have a mirror be placed there.
Jennifer, just to clarify, is this the intersection is Central Avenue and what?
It is Central Avenue and, I'm so sorry. So if you are coming up, so it's Central Avenue, and what's the street here? Hold on. Oh, Oakmont. So if you're on Central Avenue.
Not the city. Yeah.
And.
Yeah, Jennifer, you know what I would suggest, you're welcome to send me an email with these details. That intersection.
That's what I said.
Jennifer, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, send me an email.
Okay.
That intersection is not within the city limits of Gaithersburg, but we're happy to share that with the county folks.
Okay, yeah, so it's Central Avenue and Oakmont Avenue. That's not within the city of Gaithersburg?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Okay, so then I'll send you an email then.
Yeah, thank you. All right, is there any other, looking on Zoom, I'm not seeing any other hands go up, or haven't thus far. So we will close out public comments, and thank you both for your testimonies tonight. Next, we will go to from the mayor and council, and we're going to start with Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll begin with an announcement. After a closed executive session, a closed meeting was held by the mayor and city council on Monday, October 23rd, 2023 at approximately 8:27 p.m. pursuant to a motion adopted unanimously. The meeting was proposed to be closed pursuant to the general provisions article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, sections 3-305B14, to discuss before a contract is awarded or bids are opened a matter directly related to a negotiation strategy or the contents of a bid or proposal if public discussion or disclosure would adversely impact the ability of the public body to participate in the competitive bidding or proposal process. And 3-305B1I, to discuss the employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom it has jurisdiction. The topics to be discussed were proposals to retain a consultant to conduct the recruitment of a new city attorney and a personnel matter to conduct the city manager's annual review. Present at the meeting were Mayor Ashman, council members Harris, Henderson, McNulty, and Wu. Staff present were City Attorney Board, Director of Human Resources Yacklin, both of whom left at 8:50 p.m., and City Manager Briley. Upon conclusion of the discussion, the closed meeting was adjourned at approximately 9:30 p.m. So I want to first say thank you so much to the council for electing me to the new vice president. I'm incredibly honored and remain honored to serve with these incredible public servants. I want to thank Councilmember Henderson for your leadership for the past year. I had the pleasure of attending a number of events with Lisa where she was speaking on behalf of the city, sometimes with notes, sometimes with not. And I gotta say, if I can comport myself with half the amount of class and passion that Lisa demonstrates always when representing the city, then I will be very grateful. So I am really, you hear me say this all the time. I really do love this job. I really do serving this city, and I look forward to the work ahead with these fine individuals. So let's get to work. I had the opportunity to meet with staff from Parks, Recreation, and Culture to have our first meeting about exploring whether we can figure out how to do a barbecue competition here in the city. We are at the very initial stages, working with, trying to work through some challenges like a very full schedule and the space required and, of course, budget. So we all have a little bit of homework to do, but I'm excited to continue exploring this. It's a passion of mine. I've seen how other municipalities have used events like this to generate excitement and interest, and particularly thinking of Bel Air, Maryland, where the current state championship is held, and how their business improvement district uses that to generate revenue for their downtown area, and looking at opportunities that maybe we can use that to support places like Old Town or other places in the city. So excited to continue moving forward on that. Wanted to give that exciting update. Once again, had the privilege of being on stage for the Jingle Jubilee with the mayor, with Councilmember Henderson, with Rob's family. Rob wasn't back yet from his trip, so it was great to have Jamie and the kids up there. My next door neighbors were out in the crowd, and little 4-year-old little girl who lives next door yelling, "Hi, Mr. Jim!" from the crowd was pretty cool. Thank you to the Gaithersburg band for once again doing a fantastic job, for the cultural
Multicultural.
Thank you,
Affairs.
Multicultural Affairs Committee, for their work, for Dolores and staff, for all of the team. Dorothy.
Yeah.
I'm terrible with D names. Have you noticed that? I'm really bad with that. Apologies. It's just a tremendous event. It's something that my family looks forward to. Couldn't get my 16-year-old on stage with me, but it was great to have him there with Amy, and and it was a good crowd. I think the warm weather certainly helped. It was definitely warmer than last year. But it was great to see all the people and all the excitement when Santa Claus came in the fire truck. So that was a pretty great event, and the holiday season is underway. Hopefully, you've been able to get to Winter Lights. I was able to give away. I had some passes that I gave away to the crowd. Just look for families, and they were usually pretty surprised and appreciate it. So I hope everybody gets a chance to visit Winter Lights. I want to officially welcome Jamil to the dais in your first official meeting. It's great to have you here on the council. I'm really looking forward to working with you and sitting next to you and throwing elbows here and there. There's a couple of events coming up that I'm looking forward to attending, including the Kentlands Lakelands tree and menorah lighting this week on Wednesday, which actually at the same time as my company holiday party, so I'm going to try and hit that and then shoot out to that event. The Santa Claus Holiday Tour is continuing on Saturday with Cocoa with the Clauses. from 9:30 to 2 at the Casey Community Center. And I might be wrong with this, but I think Rio is having fireworks on Saturday night. So if you hear fireworks, don't be alarmed. That is what's going on. And then there's also menorah lighting at the Rio on Monday as well. So lots going on. We really enjoy this time of year, getting out into the community and participating in these events. So I hope to see you there, and I'm looking forward to finishing out 2023 strong and getting back to work in 2024.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Jim. We'll go to Jamil.
All right, here's my list. First, I'd love to associate myself with all the good parts of your statement.
Which parts were those?
Particularly to share my strong support for participation in the testing of any barbecue that ends up occurring. We just got back. I was in my birth town in Bonito, Puerto Rico, and got to meet the mayor there. Thank you, Leah, and everybody who got us a nice swag bag to bring from Gaithersburg and share sort of our love of municipalities. We talked about the challenges and opportunities that they're having. It's amazing how much commonality there is between different cities. They gave us some nice swag to bring as well, so I have some stuff for y'all. But it was a really, really interesting experience. I'm looking forward to attending these events and carrying on.
Thank you, Jamil. Lisa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am happy to have Jim come on board as the new vice president, although I've had a tremendous year in this role. Neil Harris and Ryan Spiegel both told me, "Oh, Lisa, there's nothing to it." And then the mayor went on vacation. How about that? Always happy to stand in. Huge shoes to fill, which I never could, but always happy to stand in for the mayor. It is an incredible time. The community. It's amazing to stand and speak out towards the community and receive their input back and their appreciation. So, and I do tend to, even when there is a speech in front of me, I do tend to go off. I'm a preacher's kid. I can't help it. It's how I was raised. So I am happy to pass on the baton and look forward to you serving the city well as the new vice president. So
Thank you.
way to go. Also attended, a couple of weeks ago, attended the National League of Cities in Atlanta, Georgia. An incredible event, chock full of information. So spent time learning about community gardens. Atlanta has the benefit of having 7.1 acres of land that they are using to provide to their residents for free to build community gardens. Lots of opportunity there for the youth to work with seniors, even in terms of carrying heavy plants and compost. So it's intergenerational opportunities there with community gardens. And I look forward to our first community garden coming in with the Pleasant View Park. Looking forward to that opportunity. And then lots of AI, lots of conversation about artificial intelligence. I went from one AI workshop with Microsoft and the very next one with Google. And I thought, when do you get to an AI conference and Google and Microsoft are both there at the same time? So it's pretty impressive. Also want to welcome you, Jamil, officially to council. Way to go. We've become friends now for, how long has it been? 3, 4, 5, 20 years? Nice to have some additional burgundy and gold up on the dais, so we're happy about that as well. Well, welcome aboard, and we're all here to help, so welcome aboard. Also attended the Jingle Jubilee. It was great until Santa Claus showed up and upstaged us all. So thank you, Santa Claus. Last but not least, I want to thank Dennis Enslinger, who moved me through the NLC conference. I constantly got lost moving between the hotel and the conference room. It was a lot of space, but Dennis figured it all out and made sure I got everywhere on time, safely, and to the right place. So thank you, Dennis, for herding me through. And I have an announcement to read. A closed meeting was held by the mayor and city council on Monday, October 16th, 2023. at approximately 9:30 p.m. pursuant to a motion adopted unanimously. The meeting was proposed to be closed pursuant to the General Provisions Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, Section 3-305B1I. The appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom it has jurisdiction. The topic discussed was a personnel matter to conduct the city manager's annual performance review. Present at the meeting were Mayor Ashman, council members Harris, Henderson, McNulty, and Wu. Upon conclusion of the discussion, the closed meeting was adjourned at approximately 9:59 p.m.
Thank you, Lisa. We'll go to Neil.
All right, thank you, Mayor. First of all, hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I am still on a diet since then, and will probably continue at the rate that I ate my way through the holiday. But I will take a day off from the diet for eating latkes on Hanukkah this weekend, and hope anybody who celebrates has a great family holiday. Over the course of the last several weeks, one event that I want to talk about is the monthly chapter meeting of the Maryland Municipal League. We had as a guest the school superintendent, Dr. Monica McKnight, and there was a good conversation. And I raised the issue of some of the schools in our vicinity that are struggling, and she promised to work with us closely, and we're going to set up some meetings and see what we can do to stimulate some success at some schools that really need to push forward. We had a transportation committee meeting last month, which if you want to know what the transportation committee meeting is, you can go to YouTube and watch last week's meeting, and there was a presentation of what they've been up to. But I will say we did discuss the next year's Bike to Work Day, which is May 17th. You can remember that because Judd will keep reminding you about the small event the next day, the book festival. We are planning to move, it's not official yet, but planning to move the morning stop from Great Seneca Highway to the pavilion in the Kentlands, which is a city property. We think that might help attendance. Attended the Kentlands Foundation board meeting with all the people that you saw up on the dais today. Great organization. I'm glad to be the representative of the council on that organization. And last but not least, attended an event from Leadership Montgomery, and they pointed out something that I hadn't really realized, that all three of us who were just elected or re-elected are alums of the Leadership Montgomery program, which is a great program. The program I attended was called Leadership Solves, and it was focused on getting a group of people who have been through the program together to solve climate change. We did not succeed in solving climate change just yet, but we have other sessions coming up, so hopefully we'll get there by the third session. That's it for tonight for me. Thank you.
Good job. Thanks, Neil. We'll go to Rob.
Thanks, Mayor. I will echo the Happy Hanukkah to those who celebrate. I had a wonderful time attending the Jingle Jubilee and the lighting through my surrogates. So I appreciate you actually. Wonderful pictures, wonderful surprise when they sent it over to me. So I appreciate you inviting them on stage and all of you participating with them. And Jim was gleefully applauding my wife. So leave it there. Congratulations, Mr. New Vice President. Congratulations and thank you for your service, Madam Vice President Emeritus. And welcome to the City Council Member Hernandez, who I had the pleasure of watching him in his first extra city act in liaising with the municipality of Aybonito in the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico and spreading the good word of Gaithersburg. And so I think that's it for me. Thanks.
Thanks, Rob. I love those examples of municipal diplomacy. They're really cool. And it's so much fun to do that. So I'm glad you guys had an opportunity to do it. Yes, congratulations, Jim. You're going to be great. And I'll try to, there will be opportunities for you, for sure.
Put me in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Lisa did a terrific job. I want to, Tanisha, please carry our thanks to staff for Jingle Jubilee. One of my favorite events. It is the sweetest event. If you guys have not been to Jingle Jubilee, you need to come next year. It's always the first Saturday in December, and we light the tree, and it's like the small town. I don't watch the Hallmark Channel, but I like to imagine that it's like everything except for a gazebo that you would see in a Hallmark Channel movie. A small town gets together, and it's just sing songs together, rings in the holidays together. It's just a sweet thing. So it went off well, and just it's a proud moment. As Jim mentioned,
What I heard there is we need a gazebo, is what you're saying.
yeah, it couldn't hurt. They don't have a pavilion like ours, though. As Jim mentioned, Kentlands tree lighting is on Wednesday at 6. There's the menorah lighting at Rio is Monday at 6 p.m. And a number of us, I'm sure, will be there. So please feel free to join us. Next week, we will have a work session, Monday, December 14th. Right here, if you can participate in person as you're doing now, or you can participate over Zoom. We will be receiving briefings from the Cultural Arts Advisory Committee, the Gaithersburg Parks, Arts, and Recreation Corporation, and the Multicultural Affairs Committee, and the Senior Advisory Committee. And we may have an executive session after that. So it could be, council members could be kind of a long night, but we got to do what we got to do. It will be actually our last meeting of the year, because we will not have set a regular session on the 18th, and we will not have a work session on the 26th due to our winter recess. The next regular meeting of the Mayor and Council will be on Tuesday, January 2nd. Obviously not Monday, January 1st. You guys get that. Next is from the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor Ashman. I want to congratulate our new council vice president and say thanks to our outgoing council vice president. And I would like to also, since this is our last regular meeting before the new year, wish everyone a Merry Everything and Happy Always. Lots of holidays coming up over the next several weeks, so that should cover it. And as we've made our way through, Black Friday and Cyber Monday and Giving Tuesday, I just want to provide a reminder, as Mayor Ashman mentioned earlier, we do have need in our community. And we have a report from staff. Our staff works very closely with our nonprofit partners, as we all know. And food insecurity is skyrocketing this year. In fact, MANA, one of our food partners, reports that they are seeing requests greater than the height of the pandemic. And so there's still great need in the community. If you have an opportunity to give, there are lots of opportunities to do that, either through our program, the Gaithersburg Holiday Giving Program, which is still accepting donation, but specifically on the food front, if there's interest there, both food and money is accepted at MANA, Gaithersburg Cares Hub, and the Gaithersburg Help. So if you have a little bit of extra and can help a neighbor in need, please think about that this holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is economic development update. Tom Lonergan-Seeger.
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations. Thank you. Welcome back. I'll be brief. Take a stroll through Old Town tonight, tomorrow, whenever. You'll notice that the tired old arcade that stretched atop the sidewalk along East Diamond from the Old Town Cafe down to the old Wolfson store, it's gone. The cost associated with removing this arcade, along with the forthcoming fresh paint, new signage, and lighting along the block, is being covered entirely by toolbox funds, along with a grant secured by the city's economic development team through the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. And it won't stop there. Sharon and I will be coordinating additional facade improvement projects in Old Town with the use of these funds in the coming months. As a reminder, the municipally funded Toolbox provides financial assistance for exterior and interior improvements to commercial spaces. Over the last 10 years, the city has provided nearly $250,000 in direct Toolbox grants to businesses in Old Town alone, and we've got 4 more in the pipeline here in Old Town. And just a reminder of how unique and how important these grants have been and continue to be for the Old Town community and beyond. And secondly, and almost more importantly, that delicious hoagie being made fresh at Wawa that you've been waiting so patiently for. You don't have to wait too much longer. Initial plans were for a mid-December opening, but sorry, outstanding issues with, yes, WSSC and Pepco look like it'll delay the celebrations until late January, according to their real estate project engineer. Once we have the opening date, I'll pass it along. Happy holidays.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
That's disappointing news.
They're going to open that while I'm in Mexico. That's what's going to happen.
Probably so.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, Laura Mayfood, welcome. We're moving on to ordinances, resolutions, and regulations.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is the introduction of the resolution for application X9683 2023, authorizing the annexation of the Casey property into the city. This aerial shows the area to be annexed outlined in the black dashed line. It's one parcel and it's approximately 5.25 acres. It's located on South Frederick Avenue between O'Neill Drive here and I-370. The area to be annexed is located within the city's maximum expansion limits, as shown on this map from the adopted municipal growth element. It says property here, and it is adjacent to the current city limits. This is the annexation plan. Under the county, it's currently zoned CRT, Commercial Residential Town, with a 0.75 FAR, or floor area ratio, commercial up to 0.25 and residential up to 0.75 FAR. And this allows a mix of commercial and residential development up to a maximum floor area ratio of 0.75. Ultimately, the applicant would like to redevelop the property with residential uses as shown on the annexation plan, but any redevelopment application would come back before you as part of a separate approval process after the annexation is approved. The applicant is requesting CD zoning, corridor development zone, for the parcel. And this chart just lays out what the maximum density would be allowed based on state law. So it reflects a 50% increase over the allowable density under the current county zoning. So tonight, staff is asking the council to vote on whether or not to introduce the annexation resolution. So we're essentially just asking if you would like to advance the application through the public hearing process, where it will then be fully reviewed. If you do vote to introduce the resolution tonight, the next steps would be reviews by both the County Planning Board and the City Planning Commission. Those would most likely occur in early 2024. And then a public hearing before the Mayor and Council in the spring. And we'll have more finalized dates once we know when we can get on the county's Planning Board agenda. So again, just asking if you would like to introduce the resolution this evening, and if so, it will come back for a public hearing at a later date. And that's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Laura. So this would just be just sort of a formality to get the process going. It is it's not a quick process. There will be public hearing and there'll be recommendations. So the question before us is whether or not to introduce. Rob Wu.
Thanks. I actually had a question, just to put it front burner and to honestly admit I don't know the answer to it. And so I typically answer a lot of questions where I know the answer to it, but this one I don't. So it's an Lynn question, so I'll tee that one up as well. I noticed in the packet it was discussing the request for potential waiver of the affordable housing requirements because of the laudable, actually, I didn't even know this, the Casey Trust was, our foundation was doing this in the city. Is the Casey Foundation's mission tied to their organization, or are there covenants on the property that would require the use of that property going forward to have that affordable housing element on it?
I am not familiar with any covenants at the present time, but that's something that we can take a look at and have an answer for you before the public hearing.
And so the question would be, you know, if this property was sold, one, do they have the ability to sell the property? If they did sell the property, would the affordable housing aspect remain on the property? Because I think that would govern the palatability of waiving affordable housing restrictions that are placed by code on the property.
I mean, certainly this, once it's in the city's processes, we do record covenants that run with the land related to affordable housing. But I'm
Okay.
just not aware
I
of
just
what the
wanted to tee that
existing
up. 'Cause
covenants may be on the property.
This seems laudable, and I would support introduction.
I could also just jump in. The applicant they intend to pursue an annexation agreement, and one of the terms they would like to address is the affordable housing component. So if that's part of the annexation agreement, it would be binding on the property in the future.
Jim?
Thank you, Mayor. And I actually had the same questions that Rob had, and thank you, Laura, for the presentation and the introduction. Understanding that it would be a part of the annexation agreement,
Yes.
that the removal of the affordable housing standard would be lifted. I think the question is more a function of if the property were to be sold in the future, what would be attached to the property as far as maintaining that. I know that they're currently looking to have, I think it was 75%
Yes.
affordable housing. If the restriction is removed as part of the annexation agreement, what is to prevent a future owner of the property from going away and not having any on the property? And that's something I think that would be an important part of the discussion going forward.
Okay. Well, the annexation agreement would run with the property, even if it does transfer ownership. So the applicant would be proposing to put some type of requirement to provide affordable housing in the agreement.
Okay. Great.
And that would continue on.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the clarification. That was all I had.
Okay. You want to make a motion to introduce?
I will move to introduce the ordinance.
What are we-
Resolution.
Petition.
Resolution.
Yes.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Carries 5-0. It is introduced. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Jasmine Forbes. I'm going to talk about ordinance to abandon, release, and vacate approximately 7,092 square feet of Exchange Avenue right-of-way.
Good evening. So this is an introduction to amendment application AB-9653-2023. An introduction to an ordinance to abandon, release, and vacate approximately 7,092 square feet of Exchange Avenue right-of-way in accordance with Chapter 19, Article 3 of the City Code. And as shown on the screen, the area that's highlighted in white and red is what's being proposed. The applicant wants to abandon, reduce Exchange Avenue from 80 feet to 62 feet. This application is related to Schematic Development Plan Application SDP-9558-2023, which is going to be a future residential development. But since this request is directly related to the SDP, the public hearing will be scheduled concurrently with that SDP at a future date. So just process-wise, this is the first step, so this is an introduction. The next step is to take this application to the Planning Commission on December 6th for a recommendation, and it'll come back before the council at a later date for a public hearing. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have this evening.
Thank you, Jasmine. Questions, comments? Go ahead,
Just
Jim.
one, so in looking at the map and texting me if you could bring that back up real quick. I guess my biggest question about this request is understanding that in the packet it talked about wanting to be able to offer, wider sidewalks, et cetera. Is it necessary to abandon the right-of-way to be able to still do that? I understand wanting to make the street more narrow, but I guess my question is, does it require, would they be able to still do what they wanted to do without abandoning the right-of-way and still have that in the future?
I understand it as part of, once you go to the public hearing, that they need that reduction to facilitate their development. Currently, the wides are a little too wide right now, and they want to make it smaller to make it more of a neighborhood residential road to accommodate the future residential development and the existing neighborhood that's there.
Okay.
But along with that, they're doing improvements like sidewalks and.
Right. Okay.
Great. Not seeing any further questions. Does someone make a motion to introduce the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Carries 5-0. Consider it introduced.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sean Stevens from our Public Works Department coming to talk about contract for the purchase of 6 trucks.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. The resolution I bring before you tonight is to authorize the city manager to negotiate and enter into a contract for the purchase of 6 trucks. 6 Public Works trucks were scheduled for replacement in the FY24 budget due to their age, condition, and reliability. Staff wishes to utilize State of Maryland contract 001B36000205 to purchase these vehicles. The State of Maryland issued a request for bids in November of 2022 and awarded the state contract to Sport Chevrolet Company, LLC, in December of 2022. Sport Chevrolet has provided the city a quote in the amount of $340,725 for these 6 vehicles. On October 2nd, 2023, via Amendment Number 1, the State of Maryland accepted 2024 model pricing under this BPO. Staff compared these quotes with Baltimore County Contract 0004504 with Apple Ford Incorporated for the equivalent 6 2024 trucks with plows and salters, which totaled $420,328, which included 5 in-bed salters. This comparison showed a savings of 9.55% by purchasing these vehicles from Sport Chevrolet LLC and purchasing 5 in-bed salters from Moxley's Truck Equipment. The pricing, utilizing the State of Maryland pricing, is better than the pricing we would get if we were to issue a solicitation on our own due to the volume of vehicles and salters being purchased off the state contracts. Utilizing the State of Maryland contract meets all requirements under the city's procurement policy. Staff recommends utilizing State of Maryland contract 001B36000205 with Sport Chevrolet Company, LLC, in an amount not to exceed $340,725. There are sufficient funds in the asset replacement fund. Do you have any questions for me?
Can you name that state contract number one more time?
I prefer not to.
Thank you, Sean. Questions, comments?
So does Criswell not do trucks?
They do, but they weren't the low bidder on the state contract.
Okay. It always warms my heart when a local business receives a contract.
We do try to use them as frequently as we can, as long as it's in the best interest of the city.
Got it.
Rob, with that, you want to move?
Sure, so moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Carries 5-0. Thank you, Sean. You have the next one too. Okay, well done.
This resolution I bring before you tonight is to authorize the city manager to enter and negotiate into a contract for road salt provision services. City staff have identified the need for sufficient quantities of road maintenance salt, requiring a supplier to ensure the city's Public Works Department has sufficient road maintenance salt resources to adequately remove and clear snow and ice from city streets and roads. Staff wishes to utilize State of Maryland BPO 001B46000033 to purchase these goods from Morton Salt Incorporated. Morton Salt was awarded the Montgomery County portion of the contract as low bidder. Morton Salt is willing to extend the pricing of the state BPO to the city of Gaithersburg. Utilizing the state contract meets all requirements under the city's procurement policy. The state contract was awarded on July 18, 2023 and expires September 9, 2026. The pricing utilizing the state contract is better than the pricing we would get if we were to issue a solicitation on our own due to the volume of road salt being purchased off of the state contract. I did call all the surrounding the salt companies, and they all referred me that we can't beat the state pricing. All the pricing I did receive were higher than the state contract. Staff recommends utilizing the State of Maryland contract with Morton Salt Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $150,000 for fiscal year 24, with optional renewable one-year terms for fiscal years 25 and 26. There are sufficient funds in the FY24 operating budget for this contract. Do you have any questions for me?
Jim.
Thank you, Mayor. Sean, is there, it says the opportunity to renew in FY25 and 26. Does the price increase with those, or are we locking in a price?
There's
increase?
locked-in price increases for both 25
Locked in.
and 26.
Very good, thank you.
What's the type of salt?
It's type 1, grade 1 road maintenance salt. And we can either buy the solar, which is the evaporated salt from the sea, from water, where they dilute it, or it's the
Sodium
mine.
chloride, we've had discussions in the past on strategies for the city to reduce toxicity of the road salts used, and I remember having a conversation with Tony about the different salts. So I just want to make sure that that conversation is just front and center as we're making acquisition decisions. And I'm
Really,
impressed that Morton Salt, I think, is the huge conglomerate table salt company. I didn't know they also did road salt.
Big salt.
And really and truly, it's when it comes to the road salt, it's about good management from Public Works to make sure that we're doing the right thing out there and applying. Last year, we the total for last winter, we only applied 1 bucket full of salt, which is less than a ton of salt for the entire winter. So we're very cognizant of what we're doing out there, and we make sure when we make decisions to put salt on the roads, we are doing the right thing, and we don't use it just to burn the salt off to make the roads good for you guys. If we feel like we can wait till the sun comes out in the morning, we wait.
I appreciate that. I appreciate how the city addresses it both through strategies. You noticed when the state comes through because they apply at a much higher amount, but also just to refocus, and I'm sure we are, about alternative types of salt. So the conversations we had about certain salts only work in certain temperatures and things like that, as long as staff is focused on, not just application techniques, but also the types of chemicals we're using, that's all I ask.
We're definitely open to change our processes as they come along, and if we identify better means of accomplishing our goals. But again, I think that I can speak for myself that we're very cognizant of what we're doing out there, and we're being very diligent to our environment.
Appreciate it. Move approval?
I got a question.
Oh,
Go ahead. Hey, just some clarifications. Does this, and if it was in the package, I apologize because I didn't see it. Is this to purchase a fixed quantity or to buy
Only as needed by the ton.
Okay,
so whenever we've got a building full over at Public Works right now, so if we have another light winter, we may not order any this year.
Okay.
But if we do get a big one where we have to use a lot of salt, then we need to replenish our stock.
Can you contextualize that for me? Is 150 50 tons, 1,000 tons if you were to use it all up?
I would have to do the math real quick, but it's probably it's less than 100 tons.
Okay. That's it.
But it would take Armageddon for us to have to spend that much money.
Don't put that into the universe.
Rob, do you want to move
approval?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Carries 5-0.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Happy holidays. Frank, you are up next. Policy discussion. DRRAs.
The man, the
Good
myth, the
evening,
legend.
Mayor and City Council, and I welcome our new council member. I'm actually used to working with him on the Animal Control Board, so we have seen each other before. Tonight is a policy discussion on an ordinance to create a new Chapter 2A to the City Code. This would establish your authority as Mayor and City Council to approve the city's entering what's known as a DRRA, or Development Rights and Responsibilities Agreement. This is as permitted by Maryland law. Section 7-301 of the Land Use Article is what provides that authority and lets us know what we need to include in the ordinance. Basically, this is being proposed as a way to add more certainty for developers handling extensive developments. It does provide certainty in terms of specified limits, such as permissible uses, density, maximum height, size of structure, permits required or approved, and also specifies that the law in place at the time the agreement is executed applies throughout the agreement unless otherwise specified. Now, in exchange for that, there is the opportunity for the city to request and receive additional what are known as enhanced public benefits. The ordinance adding this new Chapter 2A to the code was introduced on September 18th, 2023. There was a public hearing on October 17th, 2023. and the record remained open for 10 days thereafter until the 27th, with tonight as the targeted date for discussion and potential adoption. There was one letter of support, which was included, and also a memo from myself clarifying in terms of enforcement that the DRRA would be enforced as a contract, as an annexation agreement is also, that it does have to have a specific expiration date, but that can be a specified number of years after approval, and it can be timed to coincide with build-out. And also that in terms of a risk of expiration before public benefits are provided, they can also be timed earlier. Again, this is an agreement, and that's really what the parties agree to do. The expiration can also be linked to development approval. Just in terms of a couple of other key points, the agreement, as noted, would be enforced as a contract. It could contain certain contract enforcement provisions as well related to the enhanced public benefits. Those can be provided along specific timelines, again, subject to an agreement. As far as city ordinance updates or termination, if it's needed to protect public health, safety, and welfare, can be earlier terminated. And also city ordinance updates could in that case be provided. It does follow, the proposal follows the dictates of state law regarding the Planning Commission, that there has to be, while you first decide as mayor and city council you want to accept and move forward or not, once you do, it first has to go to the Planning Commission, and that's for a recommendation that finds that if the agreement, because a proposed agreement has to be included, that it is consistent with the master plan. We also did add an additional requirement that the Planning Commission review and find in order for it to move forward that there is, in fact, enhanced public benefit. There are also public hearing requirements before entering such an agreement. If there's later an amendment, the Planning Commission also has to review it again to ensure that the change, the amendment, is consistent with the master plan. And as noted before, DRRE does need some date of termination, but that can be a specific time frame that takes place based on development approval, as with annexation agreements as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Frank.
Sure.
Before we get any policy discussion, are there any questions that need to be answered? Neil?
Yeah, and so I received some email today that indicated that there's some confusion in the public over the implication of this. And so for the benefit of the public, Jamil was waiting for that one. Can you talk about whatever this is, whether this applies to Lake Forest development or not at this point?
Well, nothing happens. This is only authority. So nothing happens unless you decide to enter one. But this could apply to, yes, it could. Could apply to Lake Forest. That was actually the impetus, was that some of the folks involved there suggested that the city at least establish authority to enter a DRRA. So yes, it could apply there. It could apply to other existing development as well. Unlike an annexation agreement, which is only for new property coming in, this could be used for future development.
But this specific ordinance language that we'd be voting on is not specific to Lake Forest at this time?
Not at all. Not
Okay.
to anything, and it also doesn't require entering any agreement.
All right.
It's only authority.
That's what I wanted to clarify
Mhm.
for the 12 or 13 people watching tonight.
Thank
Rob?
you.
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Frank, for shepherding this through. Just had a question about, let me contextualize it. When we go through, like planning process and the planning commission makes recommendations to the mayor and council, I very much value and give due weight to what they recommend to us in that capacity. The role in this process of the planning commission seems rather prescriptive. in that their initial action is to conform, to opine on conformance to the master plan and whether there's a public benefit, and then more so my attention is on the amendment process, and their role seems to be limited to whether it is, the amendment is in conformance with the comprehensive plan.
Mhm.
Does that mean that is their role, or will they have the opportunity, for example, if there's an amendment that comes up, to opine on the benefits, positive or negative, of any given amendment on the DRRA?
I don't, and would anticipate no problem if
Okay.
it was your choice as mayor and city council to say we'd like to have their input. Just in my view, that you could ask others for their input as well. If it was required, that might pose a bit of a problem because we're adding certain requirements that weren't already there for approval. But what we did add was, because under state law, they simply consider
Yeah.
whether it's consistent with the master plan.
Yeah,
Now that's an important role because that's going to involve some analysis as well, but we added the enhanced public benefit. However, again, you would be empowered to say, well, on these specific provisions, we'd like to have their input. And I think that would be certainly appreciated on the planning commission's part.
Yeah, I'd asked a Lynn question before, and so that she had explained to me that aspect. I just wanted to make sure that the way this is written does not limit their ability to provide fulsome input into the process.
No, you are not prohibited from doing this. This is laying out basically the bare bones that they at least have to make sure that they get the first bite to make sure it's at least consistent with the master plan and that there's an enhanced public benefit.
Any other questions before we start discussing the actual policy? Jim?
Rob made me think of a question that maybe I hadn't thought of before. Yeah, and thanks a lot, Rob. Making me think up here.
Collaborative, deliberative body.
Yeah, exactly. So and again, maybe this is for my benefit, but I think based on the questions that Neil's getting as well, this might help. Can you walk us through a hypothetical as far as, let's assume that this passes, and then an applicant wants to enter into a DRRA.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about how that negotiation happens? Or is the petition that comes to us, is that laying out all the terms and then that goes to the planning commission? Or is it, hey, we want to do this, and then we send it to the city attorney's office to negotiate terms before it goes to
Kind of all of that,
All of
yes.
that, okay.
But what at core happens is there has to be a petition to enter a DRRA. And as part of that petition, there are certain specific requirements that are laid out, as well as a draft agreement. Now, the draft agreement doesn't have to be the final, but it has to be a draft agreement. That's what you would first review as mayor and city council and decide, are we interested or not? If you're not, that's the end of it. If you are, then it does have to go to the planning commission. The planning commission would consider, as we'd said before, is it consistent? What is the enhanced public benefit? And then that would come back. At that point, then there does have to be a public hearing before moving forward any further, get public comment and consideration. At that point can be, as I said, yes, all of that can be the negotiation, and just because it was proposed, that doesn't mean that's what you have to enter. And that could involve the city attorney's office, the planning office. It may, as Councilmember Wu was suggesting, involve to say, well, let's take this back to the planning commission. If what is ultimately proposed is a dramatic change from what was initially proposed, there may be some consideration, would it be appropriate to take this back to a public hearing? But the ordinance as drafted wouldn't require that. The only time the public hearing would be required or referral to planning commission would be initially, and if there's later a formal amendment. Nonetheless, of course, then it would take resolution of the council to enter into any DRRA after that process.
You answered one of my follow-ups before I had a chance to ask her, so thank you for that, which was knowing that sometimes if we're doing an ordinance, we have consideration of changes that we sometimes would have to go back to a public hearing. So thank you for clarifying that we would not in this case. Okay, that helped me, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, well, we're going to go into to discuss this policy, and as everyone knows, during policy discussion, I always disclose what's plainly obvious to people who watch this. I don't have a vote, but if I did have a vote, I would support this. I think this is really simply enabling the council. It's availing the council of a tool that we haven't used, but is used by other jurisdictions regularly, and it just adds another tool to the tool chest. We hadn't really contemplated it before, but it was requested by the Lake Forest developers, and although it was requested by them, as Frank has said and Neil pointed out, it's not. We have this. We would have, if we approve it, we will have this tool independently and can use it either here or not, or anywhere or not. And I don't see a real reason not to support it. So I would support it. Who'd like to go next? Jim.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree. I think adding to the number of tools that we can use to help with development, redevelopment, is an important thing for us to do. Obviously, anytime something, and we'll use Lake Forest as an example. Anytime somebody's looking to make the kind of investment that they're looking to make in the city, they need certain guarantees for their financing, for just understanding what their resources are going to need to be. And we see, shifting landscapes within the county, even where there are changes to, rent. There could be changes to, affordable housing. And those kinds of changes can change the way that a project could pencil out. And financiers are not going to want to deal with that kind of question. So I think it's an important tool that we can use. I think making sure that the city is extracting that additional public benefit is going to be an important part of any agreement. Going above and beyond what's prescribed in a master plan or in zoning, and giving that added benefit for the people of the city. So it's a no-brainer for me. I think no more than when the state wants to give us authority to do something and we can decide whether we want to do it later is a good thing for local government. I think this is a good thing for us to enable this tool, and I will be supporting the ordinance.
Jamil?
I'm also supportive. I just had one, and I had the opportunity to speak with the city attorney on this. So generally supportive. It's gives us the authority, but not the obligation to enter into DRAs. And I think that's a great extra tool in the toolbox to have when we're negotiating, or when the city's negotiating additional development. The one thing that just struck me as a bit odd, which is and I know I'm not proposing any change of language, just making an observation, on section 2A-11 on recordation. So it just struck me a little odd that, a developer in the city can go through the petition process, public process, negotiations, agreement, and if the city does not record that through its decision, it goes back to zero. And so there's no remedy or cure or anything that can be done to then have to go again for petition, public process, etc. Now, having said that, I think in the entire history of the city, it has not ever failed to record. So it's probably a low risk issue, but just something to point out.
Well, actually, if it helps to explain, the state ordinance requires the 20 days. So
Correct.
We're not around that. But the city preference has been, because we do have control over it and we will get it done, we thought there was more certainty that would be taken care of if that was for the city to take care of.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So that's why it reads that way.
Okay. Lisa?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am also in favor of this tool that will, as another opportunity in our toolkit to give some assurance to developers who may be in it for a longer time, and also from a benefit that will also gain a benefit from that development. So this is an easy one for me to be on board with. So thank you, Frank, for your explanation, because when this first came about in September and I was going through it, my mind was, what is this? So thank you for your presentations, your explanations, and your slides, because it really helped me come to agreement for this. Thank you.
Neil?
So I'm also supportive of this. I mean, this tool became available by some state legislation in 2018. So in the last 5 years, this is the first time it's come up as somebody wanting it, but the state says we can do it. Why don't we put it in our toolbox?
It was actually at the part of state law before then, but there were some amendments in 2018.
Right, that made it more reasonable to actually use, is my understanding. At any rate, the idea that the concept that you can change a law along the way while development is in process that changes the rules for the developer, it seems odd to me, but that's the way the state law works. So the purpose of this is to work around that, basically, and give the developer some certainty. And the currency that they pay for the certainty is they have to give us some extra benefit. So it sounds like a fair deal all around, and something that I will support.
All right, Rob.
Likewise, and again, thank you, Frank, for shepherding us. I do support it. I think it's a meaningful technique, as the ordinance says, for both advancing the interests of growth in the city, but also having a tool to extract public benefit in the process. I do appreciate you taking the time to respond to my question about the interrelationship between the DRRA and the vesting rights on the underlying land use. I would urge, as we're going forward with Retool, to give serious thought to that interplay, and it looks like it would be the revision of the vesting in the land use ordinance that would be the way to address that, rather than through the DRA itself. And I think that is worthwhile. I think that it could be risky to the city if we're working through a DRA and there's a misalignment between the rights and benefits that are conveyed through that agreement and the ultimate approval and vesting of the approvals of the plans under the land use element, the land use ordinance. So I urge us to continue looking at that as we go forward. But otherwise, support. Thanks.
Okay, someone want to move the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Carries 5-0. Thank you very much, Frank. From the city attorney.
Thank you. I wanted to just bring up one issue this evening, and I did send you all an email about this a little bit earlier. We have been asked by the City of Los Angeles whether the city would want to participate in an amicus brief in a case that is on appeal before the Fifth Circuit Court. It's a case of Texas versus U.S. This is a challenge to the Biden administration's DACA rules, and the lower court in Texas did find that DACA was unconstitutional and unlawful. The city participated in similar appeals under the Biden administration's, under the Obama administration's DACA rules, and we were successful in that appeal. The briefs are due fairly soon, in early January, so they're asking for a decision by the end of this month, and this being our last formal meeting of the month, I wanted to get the mayor and council's consent to proceed and participate in this amicus brief. But once again, we would not have any monetary costs to participate, and I would have the opportunity to review the brief before we would sign off.
Great. Traditionally, when I say traditionally, the last 7 years since these sort of things have come before us, we've tended to support them. So what's the pleasure of the council? I think nods of heads would be sufficient.
Yep. As long as there's a consensus.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Great.
That's it for me this evening.
Anything from other staff? Okay. Well, I will remind everybody that we will have a work session next week with committee reports. We will have no meetings on the 18th or on the 26th of December. Due to the holiday season, we will have our next regular meeting on Tuesday, January 2nd. Remind everybody that we have winter lights going on now through New Year's Eve, and you have to buy your tickets online. You can't buy your tickets there. Until next time, let's do great things, Gaithersburg. We are adjourned.